Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Angela Hester with Priceless Empowerment, and I'm here on this early Monday morning with something from my journal that I wanted to share with you guys. So welcome back. So listen, come on in. Come on in, because I have something to share with you, okay? I was journaling the other day, like always, or like I'm trying to be more consistent with, right? But I was journaling the other day, and I was meditating on some questions that I had for the Lord, and it was something that I brought to Him before, multiple times, and I believe that the question that He laid before me was how big do you want the scar? Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I gotta start over. I heard that phone disconnected, and I was gonna actually stop the video, but I'm actually gonna leave that in there, because if you guys heard it, my car just said phone disconnected. And what I was bringing to the Lord in my meditation, in some ways, I believe He was telling me that's going to keep you disconnected. So I was going to stop the video just now. I'm not editing what just happened. But if you heard it, my car just said phone disconnected. I think that further just gave me more confirmation. But going back to the question that He brought before me when I was meditating and when I was journaling was, how big do you want the scar to be before you learn the lesson? How big do you want the scar to be before you learn the lesson? He came out swinging on me this time, right? And I wanted to share this with you guys before I got my day started today, because I knew it was going to really be on me to come on and share it. So here I am, early sharing. So what came to me when I was journaling, you guys know when I'm looking down, that means that I'm reading. If you're new here, I take real passages from my journaling and my meditation moments. If I feel that it connects, and if I feel that it's something that can assist us with the conversation of being destined and depleted, right? So what also came to me was, when I was a kid, my mom and my siblings used to always tell me to be careful around hot irons. And so one day I wasn't listening, and I got burned on my right leg, and it hurt so bad. But it hurt so bad and it left such a big scar that I learned instantly in that moment, I'm not going to mess with hot irons anymore. So to this day, I am so cautious of hot irons. I steer clear of them. I don't even iron around my babies. I have learned that lesson. It only took one time. One time, that is it. I learned the lesson, right? And it was a hard lesson that I had to learn. And so something else that had came to my mind is, why is it, however, that in our careers, we almost have this impartial stance, right? Where we're not assertive enough, we lack boundaries, and we kind of find ourselves coming back around to this cycle of depletion, right? Because we're not operating in what we're supposed to be operating in, right? And we may be being driven by something else, right? By money, by ambition, by, trauma, different things drives us, but no matter what, it leads us back round to this feeling of being burnt out and depleted, tired, exhausted, and we become agitated and irritated because we're on this rat wheel. So what also had came to me was in having that depletion and that mental fog and fatigue, and sometimes it leaves us stagnant, where we can't even move because we're so tired, we're so depleted, we're so burned out. And so what came to me was perhaps the depletion keeps rolling around until we learn the lesson. Perhaps through depletion, God may be trying to get your attention, break some patterns so that you can be realigned. So something else had came to my mind when I was journaling and meditating. When my oldest son was in his early teens, he had fractured his hand while he was playing basketball. So we had took him in. They took the x-rays. They seen that it was a fracture. He put the cast on. He wasn't taking care of it the way that he wasn't supposed to. Maintenance, right? He wasn't attending to it the way that he was supposed to. And he ended up, if I remember this correctly, he ended up taking the cast off maybe a little bit early. So he didn't even see the mending process through, right? And when we went back for the follow-up, we found that the bone or the fracture, it wasn't mending back correctly. So the bone had to be rebroken. They had to refracture, in a sense, the bone, and recast it so that it can grow back the right way, right? So that he didn't have lasting impact to the use of his hands. And all I remember in that moment was my son kind of tensing up, like, so you about to break my hand again? And I'm thinking to myself, oh, you about to break his hand again, right? And so, and yes, that's exactly in a sense what was happening. And so I remember when they went to do it, and they went to, in some ways, refracture that bone so that it can grow back correctly. I remember my son let out such a loud scream that it brought me to tears. What I also remember is that it only lasted for a second. That pain only lasted for a second. And immediately, though still in pain, he felt some relief because it was back, it was realigned, right? It was no longer out of place. So they wrapped it on up, they recasted it, and long story short, it grew back good, and he was fine. He never lost any functioning in his hand. All was well. So what came to my mind about us not learning the lessons, right? Not being able to become privy to the patterns that the Lord wants us to see that we're operating in, where he's like, hey, we have to break this thing in order for you to become realigned, right? What continues to happen? Well, we continue to run out of that gas, right? We continue to run on E because we're not recognizing the patterns. We continue to run on E because we're continuing to put ourselves on that cycle, right? On that cycle of overgiving, overcommitting, overextending ourselves, not tending to our past trauma, and just doing things that continue to keep us tired and depleted. So what I walked away with is that sometimes, God needs to break our unhealthy patterns to realign us in him, in who he is, and his will. So that depletion, that those moments when we find ourselves unable to move forward, perhaps those are the moments that we need to really tune into to be able to understand and adhere to and see and hear and feel where God is trying to redirect us, where God is calling our attention to, because otherwise he basically, at least he's asking me this question, right? If you don't tap into what I'm trying to bring your attention to, then he's asking the question again, at least he's asking me this: how big do you want the scar to be before you learn the lesson? How many times do you want to run out of gas before it really begins to impact your mind and your spirit and your body? How many times? How big do you want the scar to be before you learn the lesson? So I wanted to bring that to you guys today, because that's definitely food for thought, and it definitely fits the conversation that we've been having around feeling as though we are called to do some amazing things, but being too tired, too depleted, too drained to carry those things out. I love you guys. I love you guys. I thank you so much for being here, for tuning in to this conversation. Let me tell you guys, if someone is on here today and you putting up with me and you are not doing well, I pray that you are on your way to doing well, because our God is an amazing God who can do some absolute amazing things. I love you guys. I love you guys. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye.